Okay, so let us start. So last class we talked about interpolating polynomials, right? Especially we talk about Newton's divided difference formula and Newton's interpolating formula, where we write down the divided difference table and then write down the formula. But before that, we talk about Lagrange interpolating formula and how to interpolate a function by using Lagrange interpolation, right? So that interpolates a function at distinct points in x0, x1 up to xn. So here we are going to talk about error estimation in those approximations. And so here, suppose Pn is the polynomial that interpolates f at these distinct points x0, x1 up to xn, then f of x minus Pn of x, right? So that is the error, right? At some x, right? So this is for x belongs to a comma b, right? So basically for all x belongs to a comma b, right? And for some c belongs to this, right? So the error can be determined by this formula, right? F of n plus first derivative at c divided by n plus 1 for some c. That means there exists a c such that this formula is true. So we shall prove this, and by using this result, we will try to estimate the error, right? So we will do case by case, right? So prove if, so you know that x, so we will start with this. Let x be an arbitrary point in a comma b, right? So if we take x as one of those interpolating points, then clearly you know this one is 0, right? So if x is one of those interpolating points, then clearly this one is 0, right? That is either by interpolation or by this formula, right? Right? So for those points, whenever x is one of those interpolating points, you know that left hand side is 0, at the same time right hand side is 0. This is also 0, right? So for those points, the result is true, right? So you can now verify the points for some other, right? So now what we are going to do is we are going to fix an x which is not equal to xi, right? So x not equal to x1, x0, x1 up to xn, because whenever x is equal to x1, x2 up to xn, then you know the left hand side is 0 and the right hand side is 0, so there is nothing to prove, right? So here you obviously know, right? So this, after this point, you know LHS is basically right hand side, so you have nothing to prove, so that's why you exclude that point, right? So now what you do is you take this belongs to AB with x not equal to xi, right? Right. So now for some arbitrary t belongs to a comma b. Now remember you fix x. right? So you already fixed x, right, as x fixed number and not equal to x, right? So now you take a new variable t and then you define g of t. Okay, so now you define g of t, a new function, by f of t minus pn of t minus product of t minus xj divided by product of x minus xj. Remember, x is fixed now, right? And then no, not t, this is x, because you fix x, these are x, right? So this is a function in t, right? G is a function in t, right? So clearly, because f is a function which is continuous and differentiable up to n plus 1 derivatives, right? And Pn is the polynomial of n degree, so you can differentiate it up to n plus 1 times, and all of them are continuous, right? So then G is clearly continuous and differentiable up to n plus 1 degree, right? At the same time, right, you can observe these two things. When you put t is equal to xi, right, where I is any number between 0 and n, right? So when you put xi, you have f of xi minus pn of xi, that is 0, right? When you put xi, so xi minus xi, there will be one term where you have xi minus xi, so that's 0. So everything is 0, right? So clearly, when you put a t is equal to some xi, you get this minus this 0 and this term 0. So everything is 0. Okay? That's the first observation. Second one, now you fix x, right? So you fixed x. So x is a fixed value now. So when you put t is equal to x, that fixed value, you get g of x is equal to f of x minus pn of x. This and this become same, so cancelled out. F of x minus pn of x. So eventually you will get 0. Right? F of x minus pn of x minus of f of x minus pn of x. So that's also 0. And so you can easily see that whenever t is equal to x, also g of t is 0. So So what you have is, you have, right, G has n plus 2 zeros, right? G has n plus 2 zeros, right? Because x dot is a 0 for G, x1 is a 0 for G, and so up to xn is a 0 for G, and in addition to that, x is also a 0 for G. So you have, G has n plus 2 zeros, but it is continuous and differentiable up to this point. So you can say that because G is differentiable up to n plus 1 times, but G has n plus 2 zeros, right? So the only possibility is you have G n plus 1 derivative, right? So this means n plus first derivative, huh? Not n plus 1 power, it is the n plus first derivative, right? So the n plus first derivative of the function G must be 0 at some C belongs to A comma B. So now what you have to do is you have to take the derivative of G. Right? So when you take the derivative of G, right? So G is a function of T. So right, so when you take the n plus first derivative of G, right, so you take n plus first derivative of f minus n plus first derivative of this polynomial Pn, right? Now these are constants because x is fixed, so fx minus px is a fixed number, so you can take it in front of the derivative. X minus xj is a fixed value, constant, so you can take that also outside the derivative. So only function with t is this part, the numerator part. So you take n plus first derivative of that function. So when you take that, you can see that is f of n plus 1 derivative at t, right? P is a polynomial of n degree. So t to the power n is the maximum power there. But you are taking n plus first derivative. So clearly that is 0, right? So I will write that as a note here so that you can easily see that. First thing, P is an n degree polynomial, maximum of n degree polynomial. So when you take the derivative of that up to n plus 1 time, so t to the power n is the largest power you can have. So when you take the derivative, n plus first derivative ended up as 0, right? And this function, right, t minus xj, j running from 0 to n. So when you multiply everything together, the largest power you are going to get is t to the power n plus 1. And so that is the biggest power. T minus x naught, t minus x1 up to t minus xn. So the biggest power is t to the power n plus 1. So when you take the derivative of that n plus 1 times, you get n plus 1 n so on, so on, so on. So you will get n plus 1 factorial. Right? So C is basically f of n plus 1 derivative of C minus, right, n plus 1 factorial over 5 j is 0 to n x minus xj times f of x minus n of x. Right, so when you put t is equal to c there on this derivative, gn price plus 1 times z is equal to this c. This is 0, so this over this times n plus 1 factorial. But you know this one is 0, right? But clearly, you know the n plus 1 c is 0. So you can put this is equal to 0 here. So when you simplify that, you will get the formula you are looking for. So this is the error formula for the calculation, right? So f of x minus p of x is this. So from this you can get an error bound. Right? So we will. Right? So now because you have f of x minus pn of x is that, absolute value of f of x minus p of x is the absolute error, right? So that is bounded by, right? So that is bounded by maximum of fn plus first derivative, right? Divided by n plus 1 factorial, right? Times maximum of that function, that function which is the product of x minus xj, this. So we can see an example. We'll start with a simple example. Right, so suppose f is interpolated at 2 points x0 and x1. Here we name that as x1 is equal to x0 plus 8. The question is find an error bound for this interpolation. Right, so you know that, so you have to find these bounds, right? So since f is unknown, right, so this you cannot find, right? So only thing is you have to find this, right? So we let, right, so because you don't know what is f, so you cannot find this value, so you name that as maximum of f second derivative now, because there are 2 points x0 and x1. So when there are n plus 1 point, you go for n plus 1 derivatives, but here you have only 2 points, so you go to the second derivative. So now you have to find, basically you have to find the maximum of this. Okay, so you want to find maximum of phi j is equal to 0 to 1 x minus xj, right? So that is what you want to find. So that is basically maximum of x minus x naught into x minus x1. You want to find the maximum of that function, right? So there are many ways to do this. This is a quadratic equation, right? So you can find the maximum of the quadratic equation, right? So you know the maximum happens on the endpoints and the derivative, right? So the turning points. So we will look for the turning point, right? So to make this simple, let me name x minus x naught is equal to z. Then x minus x1 is equal to x minus x naught minus 8, that is z minus 8. So x minus x naught times x minus x1 is z into z minus 8. Okay, so this is the function. Right, so let me name this as y. Right, so y is the function, z is times z minus 8. Right, so dy by dz is equal to 2z minus 8. And the derivative of this function is 2z minus 8. Right. So from this, dy by dc is equal to 0. So this implies z is equal to 8 over 2. So clearly, the maximum of the function y, you can say that it is at z is equal to h over 2, right? So it is absolute value h over 2 times absolute value of h over 2 minus h. So that turned out to be h squared over 4. Right, so this is A level math, right? Quadratic equation, finding the maximum, all of them you studied in, I think even in O level you studied, or at least definitely in A level, you must have studied this, how to find the maximum of a function, right? So this is a quadratic function. This is one way of doing that. You can directly multiply that x minus x naught into x minus x1. So you have x squared plus x naught plus x1 into x plus x naught x1, and you take the derivative. That will also work, right? So everything will work. I just do it in a simple way, or in a way which is more convenient for me, but you can always use different ways to find the maximum, right? So the only idea you are using is maximum of a function occurs on the either on the endpoints or on the turning points, right? So because in a quadratic function, right? So now you are taking the absolute value, so you have to look for maximum or minimum, right? So because when you take the absolute value, all of them become maximum. So that's what you do. So you look for endpoints and the turning point. So turning point, you take the derivative and set the derivative equal to 0 and solve for the variable, right? So that those are the places where you get derivatives, right? And then endpoints, here you don't need to worry about endpoints, because at the endpoints the function values are 0, so you don't need to worry, because when you put x is equal to x1, the function is 0. When you put x is equal to x0, that one also 0. So endpoint you don't need to worry, because all the values are 0. So you have to look for only the turning points. So here there will be only one turning point, because you take the derivative and set that equal to 0 and you solve. Right, so that's a part which we do. So now this, you cannot calculate, so you named it as m2, and n plus 1 factorial, that is 2. So clearly you can find the error bound. Right, so when you do that, you get this, right? So f of x minus p of x, absolute value is less or equal to m2 1 plus 1 factorial h squared over 4, right, times. So this is how you find the error bound, by using the error formula, right? So this is one way of doing that. As a homework, I will give you Okay, so as a homework, now you look for 3 interpolation points. Right, so again, we are talking about equally spaced points. Right, then only you can easily find the maximum of the function, right? Pi of x minus xj. So that is the only part you have to do, right? So that's A level math you have to do. So now you have equally spaced points, right? So you can use M3 now for in place of M2. You will have M3, right? N is equal to 2, that's clearly you know. Right? So I know N is equal to 2. So now the only thing is okay, so you have to find the maximum of this function, right? You have to find maximum of this, right? So you can use any of the techniques to find the maximum of this function, right? And then you can easily do that, right? So that is the case here. Any issues, you can work it out with the tutor later on when you are coming here for face-to-face classes. But only part here to do is to take the derivative of this function and find the turning points of this function, right? So that is what you have to do, right? So this is about the error bounds, and you can see that this error bound is basically based on the Lagrange interpolating formula, right? So similarly, we can draw a little results for the Newton's interpolating formula as well, which I will just write that as a theorem here. Uh, yeah, theorem. Right, so now we write down the same kind of results for the Newton's interpolating formula. right? So now you know that for a Newton's interpolating formula, you use divided difference method, or you write down the divided difference table, and then you take that as the coefficient, right? So that is what we learned last time. So we will use that idea, right, to figure out this, right? So relationship between the derivative of the function and the Newton's divided difference formula. First of all, let us recall the Newton's divided difference formula group. Right, so this is, remember, this is what we write down as the Newton's divided difference formula, right? So that is right. So in particular, if you want to write this as a common function, you can write it as Pn of x is equal to summation of f of x naught x1 up to xj times product of x minus xi, where I running from 0 to j. Right. So that is how you can write down this. Right. So now let us define g of x as a function, right? The difference between f of x and Pn of x, right? So and because P is the interpolating polynomial of f, right? So clearly f of xi is equal to Pn of xi for all I is equal to 0, 1 up to n. So G has zeros x naught x1 up to xn, right? Right, so clearly G has n plus 1 zeros at the same time, because f is continuous and derivative differential of the n derivatives, and Pn is an n degree polynomial, so that is also continuous and differentiable of the n derivatives. So then G will be, so then the possibility is there exists a C in between A comma B such that, right, n derivative of G will be 0 at that C, right? So this is basically a generalized Rolle's theorem, right? So you know that this is a generalized Rolle's theorem which you studied in first year pure mathematics. So based on that, you can see that, right? So, but you also know x, so g of x, gn of x is equal to n derivative of f minus n derivative of pn. So now if you take the n derivative of pn, right, taking the derivative of this up to n times 0, this up to n times 0, this up to n times 0, only the last term is what left over. Right, so now so if you take the n derivative of the function Pn, right? So only term you have is to take the derivatives the last term because all the others has less power than n. So when you differentiate n times, all of them will end up with 0. So except the last term, right? So in the last term you have maximum of x to the power n power. So that is the only term which remains standing when you take the derivative up to n times. All the other powers will vanish. So the coefficient is there, so you have to pull that out, and then you take this to n plus 1 derivative. So that is basically n factorial f of x naught up to xn. So clearly, you know, g nth derivative of c is 0, but that is f, right? So n 0 is equal to f n derivative of c minus this is n factorial times f of x naught up to xn. Right, so when you solve this, you get the formula which we are looking for. Right, so this leads to f of x naught up to xn is equal to n derivative c divided by n factorial. So you have a formula for the Newton's divided difference value of the function there, right? So that is what you get as the error when you do the error analysis for Newton's interpolating formula. This is what you ended up with, right? So the coefficient can be interpreted by the derivative of the function at some point, n derivative at some point. So this is what we do. Right? So we will stop here, and in the next class we are going to start chapter 4. We will do a little bit of chapter 4, that is numerical integration, right? So that will be where we will find some integrals, right? So that we may use some of the results we studied in chapter 3. So that we will talk about that in tomorrow's class.